Alright, guys. What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here for the last review for today until later on tonight for Marriage Boot Camp Hip Hop Edition. But this is American Horror Story. Double feature. This is Season 10, Episode 9, and this is Death Valley. The episode is titled Blue Moon. So this is, next week is actually the season finale. So we're going to end with 10 episodes. Cool. I'm cool with that. Double feature. It's been interesting. I will say that it hasn't been terrible. It's just been an interesting experience. But I'm still here with it, right? So we'll discuss it. So if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and are not already subscribed, I just need you guys to do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, like button, share button, all the buttons, light them up, right, you guys? And with that out, and stop taking me out on this date, right? So with all of that out the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and discuss American Horror Story 1984. Child, I said 1984. I meant double feature. So the episode starts up so we did a time travel. And I figured this was going to happen every episode, right? So every episode is a time travel. So the beginning of this episode, we started out in 1954, right? So in 1954, you guys remember that in the last episode that you guys remember the aliens came to Ike with that treaty, right? It is so interesting how they're telling this story. So you guys remember the aliens came to Ike. They wanted him to sign that treaty so that way that they can freely come and take the American people, right? And they kept threatening him with going to the Russians, the Soviet Union, right? So then we see them in this boardroom and there's a treaty in front of them, right? So they want Ike to sign this treaty. So Ike is like, I ain't finna sign shit, right? Now remember, Mamie was possessed by one of the aliens, right? So, and you guys remember in the last episode that Maria was possessed, and when they were done with Maria's head blew off, right? So that's what they were going. To basically they coerced him into signing that treaty, right? By saying, hey, you don't sign it, your wife's head is going to explode. So he signed it. Here's the thing that I had a question about. What the fuck does an alien know about getting someone's signature on something, right? Because it was legally binding. So that way, if he reneges on it, they can take it to the American people. I'm like, what does an alien know about a signature? But okay. So then did we fast forward? Yeah, we fast forward 3 years later, right? So at this point, it's 3 years after Ike has signed that treaty. So up to date, they have taken about 298 Americans, right? And one of them was a 9-year-old girl. So then this mysterious figure, it shows up on the South Lawn. Now, the guy, I can't think of what his name is, but he's the guy that played on, what was the season that they came back with the Coven, where he was the one that they had to take out, and I think he was the baby from the original Death, the Murder House. Because what his name is, because it's been a minute since I watched that season where the Coven women came back. But his name is Valiant Thor. So basically what he's there to do is he's there to facilitate this process of whatever they're doing with these. I don't know if are they hybrids? I mean, they got to be hybrids, right? They're half human and half alien. But I have a lot of questions when it comes to these half aliens, half humans, especially when we get to the end of the episode. I have a big question, right? So you guys also remember part of the deal was they give up American people in conjunction for technology. So the technology that he brought, I'm like, wait a minute. because he turned it on. I'm like, is that a smartphone? But then in another part of the episode, you see Ike go to this room and he puts his hand on the tablet thing and it recognized his hand. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? They gave us that. Because like a fingerprint scanner, they gave us a fingerprint, a smart device that's okay. Whatever. We're going to move on. This is interesting. This is an interesting series. All right, you guys. So we're still 3 years into the future, right? So Mamie, she has ambitions to surpass the legacy of Eleanor Roosevelt, right? You know, she's talking about how she has it now where it's not just kids who celebrate their birthday, that adults do as well by having parties. She wants, you know, it not to be just a kid thing to celebrate Halloween. She wants adults to celebrate Halloween as well, right? Meanwhile, I didn't realize that they were still in office. But they're still in office. They're still living in the White House. So Ike can hear it from the pipes, people screaming. So he follows the screams, right? And then he goes under the ground to, I guess it's a bunker, right? So there's this man and he's screaming for help. And Ike was like, what the hell is that? So then we see Ike. He's upset about this, right? And he's having a conversation with Mamie. Mamie don't give a shit. I'm like, well, damn. And she's telling him that she calls him Val. He's like, Val? She's like, yeah. So she's telling him that Val told her that the bunker that they're in, they're getting crowded down there, right? I'm like, well, I would imagine so. If they've already kidnapped 298 people up to this point, and they're still kidnapping more, I'm pretty positive they're going to run out of space. So she tells Ike to give them this place that she heard them talk about out there in Nevada. I'm like, Nevada? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, I know damn well you lying to me. Area 51. So y'all are saying so y'all are actually at this point saying Area 51 is real. But so they signed the treaty, right? They signed it over so that the aliens can have Area 51. Now, see, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? But I've always thought that people say that Area 51 is where they actually have aliens hidden at, right? Isn't that what they say? That they believe that there's other forms of life that are being, held at Area 51 and not humans? But okay, I'll go with it, right? So they signed it over so that they can have Area 51. So then we hear, the next thing we hear are moans and groans, and it's Mamie. Mamie is fucking Val. I'm like, well, damn. Ike passed out. When Ike came back to, she was like, yeah, it wasn't, you didn't hallucinate that. It wasn't a nightmare. It was a dream. I was like, well, damn. And then she was like, well, you done cheated on me, so shit, I did it back to you. And hell, you caught me in the bathtub with my masseuse. I'm like, well, God, dog. Tell us how you really feel, right? Oh, my God. We're going to pause here, you guys, and we are going to move forward because this next one is hella funny. All right, you guys, so now we move 5 years into the future, right? And we're at the FBI headquarters, I believe. So we see this video of Marilyn Monroe, right? And she's acting, but I don't know if she was necessarily acting because she was spilling the tea, right? That, Ike had signed this treaty with the aliens and that the aliens were kidnapping American citizens, right? But Ike was like, nobody's going to take her seriously. She's an actress and she's on drugs. So no one's going to literally take her seriously, right? So Nixon is in his feelings, right? And he's blaming this all on Kennedy, right? So Nixon has hatched a plan to take out Marilyn Monroe, right? I'm like, oh my God. So Marilyn Monroe was murdered Marilyn Monroe was actually murdered because she knew about some aliens. I cannot with this. it's hilarious how they are, taking history and just making a spoof of it, right? So we see, I saw an alien, but then I saw that it looked like, again, it looked like the Men in Black, right? So they crept into, actually, they snuck into Marilyn's house, right? They put Marilyn on, they threw her on the bed, and basically they gave her a drug overdose. Now, I don't know where they put the drugs at. I don't know if they put it up her hoo-ha, because they covered her mouth. But the next thing you see is that Kennedy is reading the newspaper, and it's talking about, she's dead, right? So Kennedy got a phone call from Nixon trying to give his condolences, but basically he's not giving his condolences. He's basically threatening Kennedy, right? Telling him that, whoever else you decide to sleep with, when it comes to pillow talk, keep that shit at a minimum, right? And he tells him to watch his back. So then we move 1 year into the future, right? So at this point, it's LBJ that's the president, right? Lyndon B. Johnson. And I say LBJ because if you live in Dallas, we have a freeway called LBJ. And that's and literally it's Lyndon B. Johnson, but we just say LBJ or 635. So we see LBJ, Ike, and Nixon, right? They're going to meet Val, and they showed LBJ all of the experiments. Now, when I think about that scene, I'm like, why do we really need that scene? I didn't understand why we needed it. I didn't understand why we needed that scene because we never went back to it. Literally, they never went back to that scene the more I think about it. Because they pulled up to Area 51, right? They introduced LBJ to Val. They went inside, and when they went inside, they showed him that little room full of all those little tanks with little aliens in it. And they went to commercial, and they never came back to that. Because when we came back from the commercial break, we went to the present where we see Troy is in labor, right? And you guys remember, Troy kept asking how was the baby coming out of him, right? And you guys remember Angelica Ross, hybrid, she's telling him to calm down. So in this scene, it looked like she paralyzed him a little bit, right? Because he was just in there like, and she was communicating with him telepathically. So what they did was they cut his stomach open, right? He didn't feel it. And then they reached in there and they took the whole amniotic sac out. They took the amniotic sac and they split it, and they pulled the baby out. Now, the baby actually looks like a human baby, right? Only thing is, it just has big bug eyes. Now, what they did was, I guess there was something wrong with the little thing, and they slit its throat and then drowned it. I'm like, well, damn, the hell, that was brutal. And Troy was upset that they didn't. He was trying to, get to his baby. I'm like, I really wouldn't mess with them too much, but okay. So we're gonna move forward, and we're actually gonna wrap up the episode, you guys. All right, you guys. So we fast forward a week later. So at this point, Troy has had the baby. Troy is 1 week postpartum, right? So he rejoins Cal, Jamie, and I forgot what the other girl's name is, but he joined them, right? So he's telling them about the experience with, having a baby. He tells them that he was on the table, that they basically paralyzed him, and that him and, Angelica Ross hybrid, they were having, they were talking telepathically. They cut him open. They took the baby out, slit baby's throat, drowned the baby. And he really wanted that baby. He felt a connection to it. I'm like, I really wouldn't feel a connection to an alien that was growing in my stomach. And it shouldn't have been growing in my stomach in the first place because I'm a man. So at this point, they're talking about that they want to get out of there. And Calico comes over and tells them like, whatever preconceived notions you think you got, you ain't going nowhere. Like, I've been here since, she's been there since the 60s, right? You ain't going no motherfucking where, right? So sit still and enjoy it, right? And she said after the first few times that they done it, she just got used to it. She stopped having an attachment to him. I'm like, damn, you get used to them just ripping something out of your body, taking it, looking at it. It's not good. So then we found out it's interesting how they're rewriting the history, right? So we found out a little bit more about Calico. So Calico was a call girl or an escort or a hooker, whatever you want to call her, right? So it's hilarious. So 1969 is where we went to, right? So Calico tells us that she met Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. And this was around the time that they were supposed to have been on the moon, right? Now, according to her, it was faked because she took them to a set that looked exactly like the moon. So a producer recorded that shit and made it look like it was legit real. So Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin never went to the moon. It was faked. I cracked up laughing, right? I couldn't. So then this is the end of the episode, you guys. Honestly, it was good, but it was just hilarious. The history that they're rewriting. So Cal starts to go into labor, right? So Troy is like, we're gonna keep this baby because at this point, Troy and Cal want to have a baby. So I'm like, y'all want an alien? An alien baby? That's a hybrid? Go off, right? So you guys remember, Troy already gave birth, so Troy knows what to do. He's gonna have to slice his stomach, which he did. He told him don't scream as much. So he's screaming, but he got, he's gagged. So Troy delivers the baby, right? Cuts the sack out. Baby is crying. Shit. And then the little thing has some tentacles. And, it actually kind of looked like a little octopus, but it's not an octopus, right? That thing attached to Cal's face. And that was the episode. That was the end of the episode, you guys. So, yeah, next week is the season finale of the double feature. Red Tide was more, and I enjoyed Red Tide a lot more than I do this one. It's not bad, it's just not like the best. But hey, it is what it is. We've gotten through it, and it's not, like I said, it's not that bad. But that's American Horror Story. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else. Share the video, and into the next one. Stay safe, take care of yourselves. Remember, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.